Uh, but I love talking about business gifts at the booth. What I've found my niche is within the Cutco world is not just selling business gifts, not just selling at the booth, but specifically honing in on selling business gifts at the booth. And this is really born out of me, for the first 18 months to 2 years of pitching business gifts, just getting a bunch of leads and not really closing much at all. Because follow up is a big part of our business, and that is part of us. As being a salesperson, big part of our job, and that's not just for us; that's for any industry that has salespeople. But just like back in the day when we used to get residential leads, follow up with them, go do an appointment, and close them. It's like there was that transition where we went through as a company, transition to just selling residentially at the booth. And I feel like we're going through this huge era, kind of switching over and starting to sell business gifts at the booth as a company. And we're kind of just scratching the surface. And it has been the number one topic for like 2 years now, which is cool for me. I get to talk to a lot of people, but it's also been cool to kind of figure it out. And it's this message has kind of evolved a little bit over time. Every time I give the message, it's a little bit different. And my number one tip for everything, and this is really the origin of selling business gifts, is to make sure you talk about it to literally every breathing soul that comes by your booth, right? Um, Prospecting business gifts at the booth is a little bit different than prospecting residential, and they kind of go hand in hand, and they help you get more turns regardless if you're head on a swivel for business gifts. But you guys, if you're at Net, you heard my message about the hat trick. If you're at the gifting summit, same thing. You want to make sure that when you're at the booth, that if your focus truly is to sell more business gifts at the booth, business or realtor, doesn't matter, they're all the same thing. Making sure one that is top of mind. It's kind of like, we're shopping for a new car right now, and I had never really even heard of a Chevrolet Traverse until we looked at one online. As I'm like looking for SUVs, right? I need to get a little bit bigger vehicle for the baby, right? And so now that I've been looking at it, the last 6 months, I see them literally everywhere. I'm like, I may go on a 30-minute drive and I may pass 40 or 50 of these things, and I'm like noticing it. Whereas before, the first time I looked at it, I was like, oh, that I've never really seen these. Business gifts are the same thing. Where focus goes, your energy flows, and you start to notice things, right? And so it's not that I'm just magically talking to more like or working events where there's more business owners. Like that's not the case. I'm just head on a swivel and paying attention to every single person, trying to see if they possibly own a business or a realtor, or maybe they don't own the business, but they like do gifting in the company. Like there's all these different avenues, and one of the main things is to focus on what they're wearing on their person. And so you want to make sure you're looking at the hats. You want to make sure hats are huge across the entire country. So it's not just like a southern thing, that's everywhere. So hats are huge. Making sure you're paying attention to the logos, not just asking, hey, what's that logo on your hat? And then them going, oh, this is my company, but also take it a step further. If they're like, oh, it's just, my buddy gave me this, or oh, it was a gift or whatever. Like I've had people that it wasn't their logo, but all of a sudden I'm in a conversation about, like, tell me more about that hat. Like, why are you wearing it if it's not your logo? Oh, well, it's so and so. Or I got this from, a company I do business with, or it was a gift, or I got this at a holiday party, or, whatever. Right. Because sometimes those hats or jackets or vests were given to them as a gift from a company, right? And if it's any kind of B2B sales, now you've unlocked a potential business gift owner because they were given a gift by another business owner, right? And so there's like this that's like the newest wrinkle in the message is like how many layers deep can this go? How many questions can you be asking to pique interest? Okay? So you want to make sure you're paying attention, make sure you're asking everybody, be unapologetic about it. Even if people are like 15, 20 feet away from the booth, I'm not saying cat call. I'm a huge like I'm not a fan at all of catcalling people, but I am a fan of using body language and motion across an event. If you see somebody wearing a hat, and I will literally, I will sit up and I'm like a sniper ready to go. And if I see somebody with a hat, I'm like looking at them, waiting on them to make eye contact. And as soon as they make eye contact, I'm like, yo, what's this? What's this? Like making a motion at the hat, or it's like, oh, hey, like, what's that? And you want to get them to stop, turn their shoulders and feet, and then you've got them hooked. And immediately, you need to get something in your hand that you can hand towards them, whether it be a lockback, a K bar, a gift set, a two-piece set, just a knife, just something. That way they have a reason, like when they walk up, their eyeballs are on something, and then you're looking at them, seeing if they light up or not. Right? So there's the whole psychology behind it is one, you got to have your head on a swivel, pay attention to the gifting prospects. Two, make sure you're calling them in, actively pulling people in, right? You can you can literally artificially generate more business gift interactions just by doing these things. Okay. You can also do this for your teammates. Something that, Aaron mentioned, I work in Texoma, and I do. I work the fairs with them every year, and I previously lived out there and worked with them. Something that I got really known for the last couple of years because my teammates, just because they just weren't paying attention, would just not say hey to people with hats on or vests or jackets or whatever. And I'm like, yo, Carlton, like, did you like this dude just walked by with a hat on? You didn't say anything. He's like, oh, dude, my bad. And so what I just started doing to being a good teammate is I would do the same thing. And then as soon as they'd be like, oh, I own a business, like, oh my gosh, have you heard what we do for business owners? Hey, Carlton, can you show him that thing real quick? Or hey, Steve-O, she's a dentist. Can you show her what we do for dentists? And then it's just like a layup to my teammate, business gift prospect. And so this is something that as a coordinator, I'm teaching all my teammates or team members to do this because it helps everybody grow, right? So not just for yourself, but for your teammates, the people you're working with in the booth. Make sure you're doing this in general, and you're going to all do this together, and you're going to end up having more business gift interactions, right? Um, so that's a huge aspect of it too. Making sure you're being a good teammate and helping the team, kind of almost like I'm almost like force feeding business gift interactions to my teammates, right? Because you have to do that to get comfortable with it. You got to pitch it more and more and more. Now, once they get to the booth, what do you do from there? Right? I'm not going to go through like a whole script. I'm going to share some concepts, right? Because I think it's really easy to go more by like an outline. So, like I said, hand something to them immediately. Try to get their focus on like a gift of some sort. I am a huge fan of cutting something right off the bat if they've never heard of Cutco, even without doing like a full pitch, because I want to get a wow factor in. And yes, I burn more turns that way. I do not care because we're all about taking as many turns as possible. Right? Like I'm not going to camp and try to take the perfect turn. I'm trying to cut things with as many people as possible just to show them the quality of Cutco and try to take more stabs at it. Pun intended. So um, so, anyways, once you do that, you get them initially interested. Then you could just say, hey, like, I know you said that's your company, or I know you said you own a company. What exactly do you guys do? So don't pitch business gifts right away. You need to understand what their business is a little bit, right? So what you want to do is just ask, hey, tell me more about what exactly do you do? Tell me more about it. See what they say. Let them talk. People that own businesses love to talk about their business. I've seen you guys at conferences. You just talk and talk and talk to each other about your business and how it's going, right? Company or business owners are the same way. Okay. Our main target is small to medium business owners. Okay. That's who's at all these events that we're working anyways. And so those are the people they're in the day to day. They want to talk about it, right? They love to vent to people about it. And if they think that you're a comrade or if you're a somebody that they could consider a colleague of some sort, they're going to talk to you about it, right? Then understanding the different angles of gifting. Now, the two no brainers: client gifts and employee gifts. Okay, client gifts and employee gifts. Then you have contractors, subcontractors. A lot of companies subcontract people out. We're subcontractors for Cutco. We're very important to Cutco, but we're not employees, right? So that's a different layer right there. Referral gifts are great. Could be end of project gifts. And client gifts and end of project gifts can be the same bucket, but it's different verbiage. So if I talk to a roofer, I'm like, oh, you have client gifts. Oh, this is really just like a one-time customer, not a client. But if I say end of project gift, then they're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Right? Same thing for a lot of service-based industries. Okay. You have business partners essentially, and that doesn't that can be people that they literally own the business together, but it could also be exterior business partners, right? So an exterior business partner to me, I just sold back in January week 1 or maybe into December. I had a guy. I'm like, hey, who are some of your business partners? And I don't mean like people that own the business with you, but who are people that you partner with on like a day-to-day basis or month-to-month basis that helps you run your business? Who are these people? They could be like they don't even have to work for you; they just work with you. Like an attorney, or it could be a real estate agent that sends you deals. It could be project manager. It could be contractors in the community that send you a lot of business. Like could so and so and so right, accountant, all these different people. And he's like, well, we just closed a big deal, and my attorney really like he headed the deal. He's the one that got the deal done. I'm like, cool. Have you given him a gift this year? And he's like, no. Let me tell you what you should give him. And he bought the attorney an ultimate superfan set, like just like the whole thing, like a $7,000 gift, because it was like a $2 million deal they closed together. You know what I mean? And so, like, just by asking an extra question, I was able to open up an extra gifting opportunity, and ended up being a bigger gifting opportunity than he was doing for his employees, because it was a one guy that was like a gold client for him or gold partner that he would spend more money on. So not all gifts are the same, guys. You want to understand that everything's not cookie cutter. And if you just go into the pitch without asking questions, oh, we got gifts that are anywhere from here to here. Who do you want to give them to? Like you can do that and you'll have some success, but you want to understand more about who could they give gifts to and why would they give them? Okay. Um, Without getting too much into that, I could do a seminar on what that looks like. But you want to just have a general idea of, is a company a service-based company where their clients come back over and over and over again, right? Is it a one and done type business where they sell to the customer once, they probably never see them again? Like heating and air. Well, not heating and air actually. Roof, potentially heating and air, potentially a flooring company, potentially like anything to do with the home, right? The reason I say no to heating and air is they get service, where they'll come back and they'll spend $200 to $500 because they need a tune up, or oh, there was a storm. Can you come make sure it looks good and all this stuff, right? And so they can capture that business long term there. And then you have companies that strictly just want to do employee gifts. And then you have different levels of employees. You have the executive team or the board of directors, or whatever, depending on how big the company is. I've had banks order from me before, and credit unions. They will not order employee gifts, but they'll order for their board members. They have like 10 board members, and they'll do like a Santoku for them because they do that every year for some reason. I've had chambers of commerce. They won't just give it out to people in the community, but their board members who help them run the day to day, they have a little bit of a budget in there to do something nice for them. So there's all these different types of like areas that you can look at. So homework wise, if I'm you, I'm researching, and you can use like ChatGPT to do this. You can just ask each other, have like an open conversation. You can just Google it, whatever. But what I would do is anytime I was working an event, I would try to figure out in that area what are some of the main industries, and then which ones would be good for gifting, right? So like I live in like a very like Alabama's a very like southern state. It's a lot of blue collar jobs. There's a lot of service based business here. Not a lot of banking, not a lot of like you know, not a lot of tech here. It's generally speaking, it's a blue collar. So I really like to stick to the home building industry, and anything to do around the home, right? So like top to bottom, you've got roofing, you got siding, you've got flooring, you've got brick. I've sold to a couple of brick dealers recently. You've got sheathing, you've got concrete driveways, you've got plumbing, you've got electrical, the heating and air, if I didn't say that already. You've got countertops, you've got cabinets, um, appliances, running out of stuff. Kitchen and bath remodelers are just suppliers. So kitchen and bath showrooms are big. And then I'm sure there's some other stuff. Lighting showrooms are good for their top clients. Like I just rattled off like 20 like mini industries within the big industry of just a home, right? And you could do the same thing and then just kind of figure out like where does the money flow and why would they give a gift? So if I'm talking to somebody who I don't know what the gifting opportunity is at the booth, then I can just say, hey, I'm just curious. I've personally never worked in the industry, even though I know a lot of our people have. If you were to do gifts with us, who would you even give them to? Right. So show some vulnerability there and let them tell you who they would give gifts to. So I'll repeat that. If you were to do gifts, who would you even give them to? It's almost like a push away, right? Like now you're not the salesman, you're like trying to get them, you're inviting them to sell you on who they would give gifts to, right? And you can do that for literally anybody you talk to. And what you'll do, this is more of a long-term thing than the day of. What you'll do is you'll make I would genuinely have a note in your app where I'm taking like the industry that you talk to and then put some quick notes the customer told you. Whether they bought or not, just put some notes down and you'll start to develop some kind of understanding for each industry. Something that I kind of hit the nail on was unions, and Cutco's union made, which is great. But there was the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, IBEW. I talked to one guy one day, took some notes, and then like a few days later at the same fair, I talked to another guy. And I just from like first interaction to second interaction, I had nothing. I knew nothing before the first one. Took some notes and I actually talked to the team about it, so that kind of helped. By the time the second interaction came, I ended up closing like a 2K order, a union order, right? And it was literally because I took notes from the first conversation that I didn't even close anything at, wasn't a decision maker, didn't know what was going on, but just went and parlayed that into, the next conversation. So you want to make sure that you're doing that as well, taking notes and kind of learning as you go, and making sure you're having conversation, with your team. So with that being said, just to kind of start to wrap up a little bit, you want to make sure one, heads on a swivel, pay attention to the opportunities in front of you. You're already talking to, or at least in the vicinity of the people you want to do business with. Okay. Number two, make sure you get something in their hand immediately. Get something in their hand immediately. And like I said, I love to cut immediately with people. I want to wow them right off the bat. If I lose a turn, I lose a turn. I don't care. Right? These are high value risks I'm taking with taking turns. Like I could land a 10K order just from cutting. And if I lose two or three turns along the way, I don't care. Right? Like it's fine. And then the third thing is make sure in the conversation you're you're one, you're I'm trying to make this very simple. In a conversation, when you're doing business gifts, don't jump into the pitch. Ask questions. So ask questions first. and then that'll give you the ammunition you need to close. Okay. Now I have a drop down process that I'm going to share with you guys. I'm going to send it to Aaron because it's very detailed. It would take me 30 minutes to go over it. I'm going to send it to him. He can post in the group me if he wants to share it. But if you follow the drop down process step by step with every customer, it's perfect. Okay. And it goes all the way from closing the big order that you're talking about all the way down to selling them a sample of Cutco. So you've got everything in between so that you can understand your drop down process just like you would understand if you're selling an ultimate drop down to Siggy, Homey, Galley, 5 piece, that whole thing. If you don't understand it, you're not going to sell it. And so by understanding the drop down process and visually seeing it, then I think it's going to be a lot easier for you guys to sell, business gifts at the booth. So, Aaron, I've got some time for Q&A. Uh,
Cool. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, before I have one that is, and then I open it up to the rest of you guys. I like the idea of end of project gifts. I just want to make sure I understand because some people don't say, I find a lot of people in the home building industry don't do more client gifts, but I think the phrasing end of project gifts is better. Is it really, if it's a one-time thing, is that what you were saying? You call it a project gift, and if it's someone like financial or something they're on a retainer,
yeah,
you
if you're
say
gonna
client
work,
gifts.
yeah, if you're gonna work with somebody over and over and over again, they're a client.
Okay,
Okay, so like we have clients. That's who we work
right,
with. That is our goal, at least.
right,
Uh, a realtor, we say client gifts with them because the realtor, just like us, they want to work with that person over and over and over again. But then you've got people in a realtor in a Cutco, we're in the service-based industry, by the way. Then you've got like a roofer or a concrete guy or whatever, like their product is usually a one-time thing and lasts, not forever, but pretty close to it. Right. So
right. So it's supposed to be 20 years for a roof or something like that.
yeah, exactly. So if you switch your verbiage to end of project gift, it just makes more sense for them.
Nice.
And you can also just say, hey, like most of my clients actually build in the cost of this because this is advertising. They build in the cost of this to their project. So add $100 or so, and then you can just give it to everybody and generate referrals.
That's awesome. Very
Yep.
cool. Thank you. Bryson?
Thank you, Philip. That was awesome. I would say like favorite thing from your talk was the if even if you did do gifts, who would you give them to? I think that's a fire question. But my question is like, what is your booth checklist before you go into the booth for the day as far as business gift goes?
What do you mean booth checklist?
Like, what are all the materials that you make sure that you have so like you're prepared when you do meet the right
Yeah,
clients?
for sure. I've got just had some new ones made. I've got my price booklet. I've got this on my iPad, but it's very powerful to have it like a physical copy. But it's actually the PPSI book. Just had a bunch of these printed at Office Depot for my team, but I keep two or three with me at the booth just in case. So I can use this to present pricing very quickly and efficiently and make it understandable. So that's like number one. Number two, I have my lead sheet ready. So you could do like a physical lead sheet. I do a Google form just because it's like digital, it's easier for me. And then I want to make sure I've got some stuff to hand out. I don't have one on my desk here, but it's the business gift. It's not the trifolds. It's actually a full sheet size. It's just 2 pages that fold together, and it's I forget what literature number it is, but it's just like it's a substantial flyer basically. So when I'm handing this to a business owner and 12 hours later they get home, it's not lost. Like it's a substantial size. So they remember that, oh yeah, I talked about this, and it just like they flip through it or open it up and they can just kind of remember the key points. But that's really it. You don't need a ton. You just need number one, you need this. Number two, you need a lead sheet. And then anything after that is just icing on the cake.
Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. Other questions for Phil? in the chat. Awesome. So you find, Phil, just one other from me, you find the biggest mistake people make is they make it too pitchy right away instead of asking enough questions.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You have to understand because, these people are pitched to all the time. You have to care about their business,
Mhm.
and to understand is to care, right? You may go in through like a full pitch, like a full throttle pitch, and it has not a damn thing to do with their
Mhm.
company,
Mhm.
right? Or they may be different. So I want to try to use the answers to my questions as ammunition to fire off a perfect pitch, which is the reason you'll almost never see me do a pitch during a talk because my pitch changes for every person I talk to based on their company and what they told me.
And you think just having a good understanding of the like bigger industries in your area. So if you're like down by New York City, finance based,
Yeah.
where you guys have more of a service based type thing. Cool.
Yeah. If somebody's like, oh, I'm in the finance. What exactly do you do?
Mhm.
Oh, well, we do. I've got a client that's in finance that they do short-term lending.
Mhm.
And so I know I'm a finance guy, so I know that with short-term lending that they make money. Again, where does the money flow? They make money by loaning out money to someone for 6 months or to a year, and they make 10, 15% off that and they get paid back. And their goal is to do that over and over again. And if they get somebody that they trust that pays them back on time, no issues, no hiccups, well then I told this company, I'm like, you should probably let's do like a build a set program with these people. That way every time they do a new loan with you and pay you back, they get another piece of Cutco, right?
Right.
And so I've got a company that's been doing this with me for like 4 years now. And I'm not saying that Cutco's the reason they've gotten a lot of repeat, people using them, but it probably didn't hurt, you know.
Right.
So
Cool. Sebastian?
Yeah, Philip, great message. Thank you. So the thing I was wondering, you showed that little booklet for the gifting. Is there any way that we could somehow get a copy of that, whether it be like a PDF or whatever, so that we can print it out on our end?
yeah,
I can get that for you, Sebastian. Yeah.
it's on
Awesome.
Vector Connect actually.
Oh, it's a lit order. Okay, cool. That's
Yeah,
all.
it's the PPSI version. And I'll explain right now if I've got a minute, Aaron, I'll explain
Yeah.
something. My philosophy behind the way that I price my business gifts is it's not cheap, it's a luxury item. I don't want to make it seem cheap. Um, First and foremost, there's two versions of the pricing you can use. If you're a CGP, a gifting rep, we have access to lower pricing. If you're not, it's like the normal, price plus engraving thing, right? I like to present it as if the customer never met me and they're just online browsing around. What kind of pricing would they get? If they run into a normal Cutco rep that's like new and they try to do this, what kind of pricing would they get? Because if they run into a CSP or gifting professional, we have access to lower pricing, which is great. Okay. So first and foremost, the PPSI pricing is the full price items, or it starts out full price. So, like for example, the lockback is it's 128 bucks, I think now. It's 138 in the gifting catalog on this one at the first quantity. So it's cost plus engraving, right? I like to show that. Okay. And then the way that I do my deals at the booth is I always bump people up X amount of price breaks. Pick however many you want for the show. Even if to close the deal, you gotta tell you what, I don't normally do this, but I'll if you go ahead and start today, I'll go ahead and move you all the way down to our lowest price on the price list just to get you started today as a one-time thing. Would you be open to that? Even that is not that bad of a deal. Like it's just not. I've sold a few people on that, and I might have to bonus like two things, depending on the order size. So it's really great CPO for us. and it's very easy for the customer to understand versus doing it like you do with a residential order where you're trying to figure out what's free stuff, how much can CTR, all this good stuff. This is very straightforward. So for example, on lockbacks at an event, I always say, hey, I tell you what, if you go ahead and start today, I know we're only looking at like 15 of these. But if you go ahead and get started, it should be 138 each because you're under 25, right? So you'd be at the
Mhm.
138 price. Go ahead and do it today. I'm going to bump you up 3 price breaks, which will bump you all the way here. It's only 128 a piece. So I'd save you
Nice.
$150 by getting it today. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, you do that?" But I'm not buying 100 knives. I'm like, "I know, but we're going to do that to help you out. I'm a gifting rep, so I can do that kind of thing if I need to, just to help you get started at the show, right?" Then they go ahead and do that, and then people always ask me, "How do you figure out what's a bonus and all that?" You don't have to think about it. Throw it in the app, put the optimizer, and go the price you quoted. Put that in there, so it's 15 times 128. Put that price in there, and then you're good to go. Like you don't have to figure out how to bonus, like, or don't worry about that, right? Because I enter my business gift orders on the spot, just like a normal order. Okay, we get engraving later. When you leave a customer, if you're closing at the booth, you always need to set the expectation that, hey, by the way, just so you know, we don't have to fill out a bunch of paperwork today if you do decide to get this. All we have to do today is I just need the first payment and explain how the 6 months work. The first payment, which is a deposit. Pick out which gift you want, which sounds like you probably want this one. And if you were to get started, how many would you be looking at? Okay, great. So 15. Awesome. And then just so you know, I don't see your logo on you right now, your list or anything like that. All we're doing today is getting started. I'll touch base with you here in a few days or sometime next week on your logo and all that, and we'll get all that finalized. So if you decide you want some more gifts, you can always piggyback off this order. We'll just add a few more if you need that. And then before we engrave anything, I'll send you a proof. That way you have final say so, right? So all we're doing today, Miss Jones, is we're just getting started, getting the deposit down. We'll worry about the rest next week, right? I've only had in 4 years of doing that, I've only had 2 orders canceled. Neither one of them, they were for other reasons. They weren't because I didn't get the logo or whatever, right? So it
That's
just helps.
awesome.
It's like all the walls and barrier to entry are gone, and it's just getting started, and then we'll figure out the rest next week.
That's really good. So you'll do it all the way down because there is enough built in there, especially if you have, yeah, it's
100%.
it's awesome. Steph?
100%. But here's the thing, like your teammates are important. So what you can't have happen is somebody at one booth or
Mhm.
one rep quote one price book, and then somebody else quoting out of a different price list or something they made up on their own. The whole team needs to be in agreement that, hey, this is the price list we're using, right? Because customers are going to shop around regardless. So you
Mhm.
have to make sure you're all on the same page, which is why I printed these out for my team and I'm charging them whatever the cost is, and they're all going to use them. Right. So we all have the same pricing. And as a coordinator, I know that that's happening.
Cool. Steph?
Yes. Hey Phil. So this isn't really, I guess, about at the booth, but I just have a question about how to reach out to like past customers to try to see if they own a business or if they know anyone that does. Like, do you send an email, a text, do like a giveaway for referrals? I just kind of wanted to start with like my customer base first and see if I can generate some leads that way.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, how many customers do you have?
Probably about 4,000.
Oh yeah. Okay. Um, the answer is different depending on how big the database is. So, what I would say, your database is twice as big as mine, which is awesome. So, what I would say is, pull your top X amount of clients all time, your gold clients. I would personally call just to do a check in with them, and then ask them if they own a business. Just like work it into the conversation. Okay. This like anybody that's bought maybe like a signature or higher, ultimate, whatever that needs to be. Pick that out. do that. Vast Action, I know, can help you put together an email to send to the entire database based on, hey, do you own a business? Here's a new program, that sort of thing. Or out of literally nowhere, with no context, you could run a gifting sale and just promote the heck out of business gifts and realtor gifts and employee gifts and client gifts, and it'll naturally just attract some eyeballs to it, and you can have a conversation about it. And I wouldn't have a goal for that sale. I would just run it just to run it, just to see, what cream rises to the top. That could be kind of a slick way to do it. And then same thing for texting. You could run a gifting sale through text, and just say, hey, let me know if you own a business or not. Either way, thanks for being a good client, something like that. And they'll self-identify to you. You can also go through and look, either yourself or your assistant, go through and look at emails and see if there's like an at and then a business name that's not something standard, in your area.
Cool.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Phil? All right. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. There's a lot of really good nuggets there. It's great. Again, the depth that you go into with your clients, it's really impressive to see. It's very easy for those of us to do realtor lender because you get used to their language, but the width that you can go deep in, I really think is why you sell so much of it, is because you can like speak the language for all those people. And thank you for sharing that with us. That was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank y'all for having me. Always happy to give back. So
Awesome.